It's late autumn, and you're the one responsible for counting the moons. You miscounted last month, maybe by accident. Maybe the sky was cloudy for 3 nights in a row and you lost track. Now your group is arguing. Some say there's still time to gather more food before the cold arrives. Others say you need to move to the winter shelter right now. If you're wrong in one direction, you freeze exposed on the open plain. If you're wrong in the other direction, you starve slowly in a shelter that ran out of food too early. This isn't a hypothetical. Archaeologists have found exactly this kind of failure written into the bones of the people who lived through it. And the systems ancient humans built to prevent it are more sophisticated than almost anyone realizes. Let's start with the most basic problem. The sun rises and sets. That much is obvious, but a single day tells you almost nothing useful. What you actually need to know is bigger. When will the cold arrive? When will the rain start? When will the animals migrate back through your territory? There was exactly one thing in the sky that changed shape on a completely reliable cycle: the moon. In 1960, a geologist named Jean de Heinzelin was examining bones at a site in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Among them was a small bone tool, now known as the Ishango bone. Carved into it were groups of notches, arranged in distinct clusters. For years, some researchers assumed it was simply a tally stick, used for counting objects. But when mathematicians studied the pattern more closely, something else emerged. The groupings closely matched the number of days in a lunar cycle. The bone dates to roughly 20,000 years ago. If the lunar interpretation is correct, someone was carrying a physical recorded moon calendar in their hand, tens of thousands of years before anything resembling writing existed. But tracking the moon alone creates a problem. The lunar cycle is about 29.5 days. The solar year is about 365.25 days. 12 lunar months only add up to about 354 days, which means a purely lunar calendar drifts out of sync with the actual seasons within just a few years. This isn't a minor rounding error. Over a single decade, a lunar-only calendar can drift by more than 3 months, enough to tell a group to prepare for winter while summer is still in full swing. Skeletal remains from several prehistoric sites show seasonal stress markers in the bone and teeth, malnutrition that lines up with exactly this kind of miscalculation. Groups that got the reconciliation wrong paid for it with their bodies. Some cultures solved this by watching the stars instead. The ancient Egyptians noticed that a particular star, Sirius, would disappear from the night sky for about 70 days each year, then reappear just before sunrise. That reappearance consistently lined up with the flooding of the Nile, the single most important agricultural event of their entire year. By observing this one star, Egyptian farmers could predict flooding with startling accuracy, years before they had any formal writing system to record dates at all. Get the observation wrong by even a few days, and fields are planted too early and washed away, or too late, and the soil dries out before anything can grow. Now here is where things get genuinely strange. At Warrenfield in Scotland, archaeologists uncovered a series of 12 pits, arranged in an arc, dating back roughly 10,000 years. Each pit appears to correspond to a lunar month, but the entire arc also aligns with the sunrise on the winter solstice. Researchers now consider this the oldest known calendar structure in the world, built by hunter-gatherers, roughly 5,000 years before the first cities of Mesopotamia even existed. This wasn't a scratch on a bone that one person carried. It was a landscape-scale instrument, something an entire community had to agree to build together and agree to trust. And this is where Stonehenge fits into the story, though not in the way most documentaries present it. Its main axis aligns precisely with the sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice. Researchers have found that its layout functions as a solar calendar, dividing the year into a structure with 365 days, accounting for leap years using an additional set of stones. Moving these stones took an estimated 20 to 30 million hours of labor. An entire society mobilized for generations to build a machine with exactly one function, making sure nobody had to guess anymore. But timekeeping wasn't only about the sky. Some researchers studying prehistoric markings, including certain notched bone artifacts, have proposed that some of these represent tracking of the menstrual cycle, roughly 29 to 30 days, remarkably close to the lunar cycle. If accurate, this suggests that biological rhythm and celestial rhythm may have reinforced each other, giving ancient communities 2 independent cross-checking systems for measuring the exact same span of time, a body-based backup in case the sky was cloudy for 3 nights in a row. So why did any of this matter enough to justify moving multi-ton stones or carving notches into bone with painstaking precision? Because a wrong guess wasn't an inconvenience. It was the difference between a group that survived winter and a group that didn't. Timekeeping wasn't an intellectual luxury. It was a survival technology, in exactly the same category as fire or stone tools. The difference is that fire and tools are visible. A calendar is invisible. It exists only in the shared understanding held between the members of a group. And here is the part that changes how you should think about all of this. No other animal on Earth does this. Animals respond to the seasons seasons as they arrive. They don't calculate decades in advance what a specific day in the future will require of them. The moment ancient humans started carving notches into bone and aligning stones with the solstice, they did something no species before them had ever done. They stopped simply reacting to time. They started planning inside it. Every deadline you've ever worried about, every date circled on a calendar, every plan you've made for a day that hasn't happened yet, traces back to a group of humans standing in a field 10,000 years ago, terrified of getting the count wrong. The next time you check the date on your phone without thinking about it, remember this: that simple certainty cost tens of thousands of years and countless human lives to build.